We failed badly. A whole day of shooting for nothing. You wonder why? Well, let me tell you the story. In this video, we're going to teach you the most important thing about filming epic handheld B-roll. My name is Vanessa Cara-Kerr, and let's dive right into it. So a while back, we had a test shoot at a friend's house. They have a gorgeous house with a huge pool. And the goal was to shoot some really nice B-roll of the garden, the house, the swimming pool. We started to set up our gear, get the camera ready, the underwater camera ready, and we had a shot list. So we had a rough idea of what we wanted to do. And on our shot list was shooting with the drone, shooting the garden, the pool, the plants, and a bit of underwater, of course, because we are underwater filmmakers as well. And then things went wrong. First of all, the drone didn't start up properly because of some kind of software issue. And then the sun went down way too fast or hid behind some trees. So we had the whole garden full of shadows. And at one point I was checking the footage just to make sure that we have sort of everything corresponding to the shot list that we had. And then I noticed there were card reading errors. I wasn't sure if the clips were really broken or damaged, or if it's just the camera that was displaying it incorrectly. So just to be sure, we shot everything again that was sort of displayed as broken on the SD card. A lot of things went wrong on that day, and I was expecting not to have the best footage. During the edit, I was sort of lost, because usually when we film these epically rolled shots of, for example, food or drink, it's pretty straightforward, because you have an order how to film it. You start with cutting all the bits and pieces, and then slowly it builds up to the final meal or the drink or whatever it is. So you don't really have to think too much about in which order you're going to film it. You're going to think about transitions and how you're going to move the camera and everything, but you're not really going to think of, a story. And that's what we were missing totally in this shoot. We were missing a story. Without a story, I was sitting there in the edit and I didn't know how to put it together so that it makes sense. I had random shoots of the house, random shoots of the pool, the palm trees, the plants, the pots, and everything. And of course you can find a great piece of music and then you can edit to that music, and then you would have like a little creative short film or whatever. It just didn't make sense. And the reason for making these kinds of films, you want to promote them on social media, you want to give them to your clients so that they can promote them on their channels. And there's no catch to it. You don't get your audience hooked if there's no story to it. Then it's like another edit with just some nice B-roll edited after each other. So that was really annoying me through the edit. And then I decided we're gonna have to reshoot this with a proper storyline. We're gonna have to think of a story that makes sense. We're gonna have to really sit down and just have an idea how to make this, or how to promote the house, the garden, and the pool so that you or the viewer finds it, attractive and entertaining. There's a story to it and you like to watch it and you understand it. You have maybe some kind of emotional connection to the film, but all of that wasn't there. So the goal is to reshoot that and to find a story to tell. So how do you create a story? There are different tools that can help you to create a story. If you look at the Hollywood movies, they all follow a similar pattern. And even indie films and most of the documentaries as well, they all follow the same storytelling. At the beginning, you establish your character, and then slowly you rise up towards the drama, the action, the problems or whatever. And at the end, it slowly descends again towards the end. A happy end, a sad end, an open end, whatever. But it's always the same. And a great way to start is to look at the story cycle from Dan Harmon. And the circle of Dan Harmon takes it a step further. It categorizes each step of the circle. So you don't have like a curve, you just have a circle that you follow. And the circle is broken into 8 specific parts. So it's you, need, go, search, find, take, return, and then change. These are the 8 steps of that circle. So number 1 is essentially establishing your character. At the beginning of the story, your character is going to be in its comfort zone, at home, or in a situation where the character feels comfortable. And number 2, need, is the character notices that something is not right, something is wrong, and maybe the character just wants something different out of life. Or simply the character has a problem. And with number 3, go, your character is going to cross a threshold. Because of the circle being split into 8 parts, number 3 goes in a horizontal line. So once the character crosses that line, the bottom part of the circle is, I don't want to say the negative part, but it's the part where all the action happens. So opposite with the curve, where the highest point is the climax, where you have all the action happening, in the circle of Dan Harmon, the bottom part of the circle is where all the action is going to happen. So your character is going to cross a threshold. They're going to enter a situation that's not going to be comfortable. They're going to have to make life-changing decisions or face some kind of war or fight or whatever. And number 4 is search. And as the word says, the character is going to search for what it wants. So you're going to have a road of trials and your character is going to have to adapt to it. And it's going to change things. And number 5, find, is the pivot point in the story. That's the lowest part on the cycle. So you have number 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you have 5 right at the bottom. And that's where the character is gonna find what it's looking for. So that's usually when the drama, the action, or whatever scene is gonna be the most dynamic and the most interesting. And from now on, it's only uphill because it's crossing that threshold of the lowest point, rising up towards number 6, which is take. In a love story, that would be, for example, the part where they break up, where your character is going to pay the price. Your character is going to face the consequences. But as said, from now on, it's only uphill. And number 7 is the return, bringing it home. Your character has now overcome all the obstacles and has dealt with the situation. And now your character can head back to where they started. And the last point, number 8, is change. And now your character has changed and has accepted the situation. So it's either good ending, bad ending, open ending, whatever ending. Now we know how the circle of Dan Harmon works, but how are we gonna adapt this to B-roll, to filming epic handheld B-roll and tell a story? And especially in this case, how are we going to reshoot this whole scenario in the garden with the pool and tell a story? I really like the idea of having a human in the videos. We're going to throw in a character to the equation. It's a lot easier to tell a story when you have a character in your film. People can relate to the feelings, to the emotions. If you have a person smiling into the camera, if you just show a stone flower pot with a nice flower, I mean, what are you going to feel? It may look nice and maybe the camera movement around it is going to look really epic, but you're not going to really feel anything. So adapting the storytelling method to our shoot, we're going to start off with establishing the character. We're going to turn this whole thing in a day in that person's life. The main task you're going to have when you have a big and beautiful garden and a beautiful pool, you have to keep things tidy. You're going to have to clean a lot. You're going to have to do a lot of gardening. You're going to have to do a lot of pool work. So we're going to try to show everything that goes into keeping all of that clean and nice and neat. And then by the end of the day, the sun goes down and then you have the person maybe having a glass of wine by the pool with some candles or whatever. And that's sort of the idea of showing that person from the beginning of the morning throughout the day to the end of the day where everything is done. So that's the idea. Hopefully we're gonna have more luck. And as they will say, when you fail, that's when you learn the most. And in this case, I can really say that's true. It's gonna make us think about our shoots even more beforehand and put in the work in the pre-production before we actually go to the shoot. And one of the reasons why we didn't prepare 100% for it was also because we shoot a lot of nature documentary stuff. But there you focus on animals. So there's always a story you can tell with animals. There's always action happening. There's always little, behaviors happening, things that you can follow. But just having the garden and the pool, that was a real challenge. I'm really happy we failed because now we can learn from it and I have something to tell you guys. With product videos, it's similar. You have to tell a story as well. As an example, we filmed a product film of a small couch table. So at the beginning, we established all of the details, the materials, the metal, the wood, all the details of that table. So we used this kind of method with the macro shots, very close-up shots, to build up the tension because the viewer didn't know how the final product is going to look like. The viewer maybe didn't even understand what it's about at the beginning of the film because you just saw the closed-up shots of the product. Unless, of course, you saw the thumbnail beforehand, then, of course, you saw the final product. If you hadn't seen the thumbnail, you wouldn't have known that it's going to be a table which is going to be revealed at the end. So that's a way how to tell a story as well. You capture your viewer, so you sort of build up towards the moment where everything is revealed. And this is essentially the same as with the food videos. You have all the close-up shots and at the end you reveal the final meal. So that's an easy and simple way to tell the story. So next time you try to shoot epic handheld B-roll, try to think of a story that you want to tell. And I guarantee you, if you put in the work in the pre-production to think of a story, then it's going to increase the value of your production so much. So I hope this video was helpful to you. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and especially subscribe to the channel if you want to see the follow-up of the shoot where we show the whole video of the garden shoot with the character and the whole storyline. And hopefully we're gonna have some behind the scenes of that shoot as well. And wait a minute. Don't go yet. If you apply the storytelling technique, the story cycle, or this curve technique, if you apply that to your epic handheld B-roll shots, please link your video below with the hashtag #TastyShotsStoryChallenge. We'd love to see what you guys come up with. So that was it for this video. We will see you hopefully in the next one. By the way, there's a link to a webpage I'm gonna put in the description where you can check out Dan Harmon's story cycle. It's really good, it's really detailed, and you can go through step by step and see how you can apply this maybe to your kind of filmmaking. It's a great read that I really can recommend.